Good morning everyone, welcome to the first video where you're actually going to see my face. This is the next part of maths. So far we've been looking at a lot of arithmetic, the number functions, things like that. This time we're going to go through the sort of things that you would find on the reasoning paper, which would be the second paper that you would have sat this summer. Now hopefully you have done your clock, looks something like this. I haven't put the two hands on, I haven't got a split pin, but it doesn't matter, because what you can do is you could put it down on the table and then you could put the hands in the right place. So this is going to be sort of an interactive video where you can do it at the same time as me. You can pause the video, go through it like that, and see how you get on. So we're going to start off going through the general things to do with time. So in time we usually have three hands on a clock. We've got the second hand, which goes through quite quickly, goes around all the way through, keeps on ticking all the time. We've then got the minute hand, which is usually the big, thick one on the clock. And then you've also got the hour hand, which is the smaller of the two. You'll see that as we go through. So that, as you can see on the screen, that's the hour hand, so it's the shortest one on the clock. So if you have a look at a clock in your house right now, or if you have a look on your clock that you've created, you'll see it's got a small hand and a big hand. The small one is the hour hand. And then you've also got the minute hand, and that is the bigger one of the two. So when the minute hand is pointing up, right, it's pointing at the 12, that means it's o'clock, it's completed the full hour. Right, so that means o'clock. And then the small hand, the hour hand, that points at a number when the minute hand is pointing at the 12. This would then give us what time it actually is. So for example, on the clock that you can see here, we've got the hour hand pointing at the 8 and the minute hand is pointing at the 12. So we know it's o'clock, and we look at the clock to see which number it's pointing at, and it's pointing at 8. So the clock is showing 8 o'clock. So, for another example, let's say I wanted to find out what 2 o'clock looked like. So remember, if it's an o'clock, the minute hand will be pointing up at the 12, that's a long one. And then the short hour hand will be pointing at the 2 to make it 2 o'clock. So if I click on 2 o'clock, that should come up. And as you can see, we've got the long hand or the minute hand pointing at the 12 and the hour hand or the shorter hand pointing at the 2. If I enter another example, let's say 4 o'clock, the same thing would happen. The minute hand would again pointing at the 12 to make it an o'clock, and then the hour hand will be pointing at the 4, like so. So if you can make these as you go along on your clock, and you can see how to play around and see how it looks. Do one more example, let's say 10 o'clock. Now think to yourself, where is my minute hand, the long hand, going to be pointing at? If it's an o'clock, it will go towards the 12. And then we've got the hour hand, the smaller one, goes around. We're looking at 10 o'clock, so it needs to point towards a 10. So it looks something like that. So now I've got a few challenges for you. You can just look at the screen here, or you can do it on your clock as well. Put the hands on in the right place. Now we've got here an o'clock, because we've got the minute hand pointing at the 12. Now what o'clock is it? If we look carefully, we've got our hour hand, it's pointing at the 7, which means that time is 7 o'clock. And we've got another time. So this time here, this is actually what time school starts. Right. So we've got our minute hand pointing at the 12, that's the longer one again. And we've got the short hour hand pointing at the 9, which would mean that is 9 o'clock. There we go, it's 9 o'clock when school starts. And this is a good time, I always look forward to this time. And this one, we've got both hands pointing at the 12. Well, we know that the long hand pointing at means o'clock, and we know that the short hand pointing at the number means that's what number it is before we say o'clock. So we look here, it's 12 o'clock. Now the fun part of 12 o'clock is it's lunchtime. All right, love lunchtime. So we've got 12 o'clock, and there it is. And this one very close to the end of the day. So this one, we've got, again, the long hand pointing at the 12, so it's an o'clock, and we've got the hour hand pointing at the 3, which means that this time, do it on your clock as well if you want to, is 3 o'clock. Now I've got another challenge for you here. So we're looking at what time is it, and we're looking at which one of those clocks shows 2 o'clock. So we'll look carefully, look where the minute hand is, that's the long one, and look where the hour hand is, that's the short one, and we've got to see which one shows it. So let's look at this one first. We've got our o'clock, because we've got the long hand pointing at the 12, but here we've got the short hand pointing at the 8. Now that, to me, is not 2 o'clock, that's 8 o'clock, so it can't be that one. Let's move along to the next one. So here, again, we've got our long hand pointing at the 12, and the short hand is pointing at the 3. Now that means that's 3 o'clock, which again is not correct. Let's see if the last one's correct. So here we are, long hand pointing at the 12, and the short hand is pointing at the 2. And that one is 2 o'clock, so let's click that one and let's see if we got it right. There we go, big tick. So we've got that one right. Next one, which clock shows 4 o'clock? Now you've already seen this one because I did it in the introduction. So let's have a look at them again. So we're looking at the long hand pointing at the 12 to make it an o'clock, and they all show that. And now we need to know which one is showing the 4 o'clock. So which one's got the short hand pointing at the 4? Now this one looks like it's got the 4, that one's 9, and that one's 10. So that one's 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock, and this one here is 4 o'clock. So let's click that, see if we're right. And there we go, we've got another big tick. Now some things you need to know, especially when doing the reasoning paper, is these type of things. So how many seconds there are in a minute. Now there are 60 seconds in a minute. Now something that we need to remember. Another thing we need to remember is how many minutes are in an hour. Right, so when the minute hand goes round and completes the hour. Now there are 60 minutes in an hour, so 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. It's very important that we remember that. Now moving on from the o'clocks, we're now going to move on to another way of telling the time. So a clock face is a full circle which is made up of 2 halves. So if you remember your fractions, we've got half of a shape. And we can actually put a half on a clock in a circle. So we've got that half, and we've got the other half. Now when we go halfway round, we need to know how many minutes that is. Now, if we've got 60 minutes in an hour, if I go halfway round, I need to know what half of 60 is. If you need some time, you can pause the video, but half of 60 is 30. So there are 30 minutes in half of an hour, or a half hour. As it says there, 30 minutes in half an hour, and there you can see. So it's very clear. So when it's 30 minutes past the hour, we say that it's half past. Right, so whenever you've got the big minute hand, I'll show you on my clock here. If I take my big minute hand, which is usually here, that means it's o'clock, right there. If it goes round here and ends up pointing down at the 6, it means it's half past. Now we've got another example of a clock on here. So the big hand, that's that minute hand that I've just shown you, it's no longer pointing at the 12, it's gone round and it's now pointing at the 6. So we know the time is now half past. But half past what? So if we look at the small hand, which is our hour hand, it is in between the 1 and the 2. It's not actually pointing at a number, but we can look at which number it's just gone past. And the number it's just gone past is the 1. It's not gone past the 2 yet because the hand goes round in this direction. So as it's gone this way, it's gone past the 1 and it's not quite the 2. So this time here is half past 1 because we've gone halfway past and it's the 1 we've just gone past. Then we've got another clock here. Now from what I've just told you, see if you can work that out. Remember we've got our long minute hand pointing at the 6, so it's not o'clock. Think about which one it is. And we've got our hour hand, which is in between the 11 and 12. So, where is the big hand pointing? It's pointing at the 6, which means it's half past. And where's the little hand pointing? We've already said this, between the 11 and 12. So, if it's gone past the 11, but not past the 12, so it's half past 11. So the time on the clock is half past 11. Now let's have a look at this one. So let's have a look at the big hand first. You can see it's pointing down at the 6, so it's half past again. And let's look at our small hand. We've gone past the 1, past the 2, past the 3. We've not gone past the 4 yet. So it's half past 3. Right, we've got another challenge here. So we're looking at the clocks and we're looking at a time. So we're looking for half past 2. So let's have a look at these clocks together. Again, you can do these on your clock yourself. So we have a look at this one here. We have got our minute hand, and that is pointing down at 6, so that is half past. If we look at the other clocks, they are also all showing half past. So we know the answer is going to be half past in each of these examples. Now, let's have a look at which one is which. So this one here, we've got our hour hand, and it's gone past the 1, past the 2, not quite past the 3 yet. So this one would be half past 2. The next one along, we've got half past here. Let's have a look at our smaller hand. It's gone right the way around. It's gone past all of these numbers. It's just gone past the 7, but it hasn't gone past the 8 yet. So this one here is half past 7. And this one here, finally, again, we've got our half past. Look at our hour hand. Which number has it just gone past? It's just gone past the number 9. So it's half past 9. So let's have a look at this again. So which clock is showing half past 2? I think you can remember that one. It is this one here. So if I click that, let's see if we're right. Good. If it spins, it means it's right. Which clock is showing half past 9? Now we went through these examples. We've just done half past 2, so it can't be that one. This one, we said it was half past, the number's just gone past 7. This one, half past, and it's just gone past the 9. So that one should be correct. Let's click it, and let's see if we're right. Good, it's spun. That's always a good thing to happen. Right. And finally, which clock is showing half past 7? Well, there's only one left, and we've already figured out that that one is half past 7. So if I click that, it's spun. It means we've got it correct. And that's basically how time works. So we're starting off quite simply with the o'clocks and the half past. There's going to be a sheet to go with this where you're going to either have to write down whether it's what o'clock it is or what half past it is, and then there's other ones where you're going to have to actually draw it onto the clock face. So have fun with that, enjoy it, and I'll see you again tomorrow.